Welcome to this 50th episode of Feeding the Wolf a Possibilities podcast.
Yay!
And that voice you just heard, that is our guest, Dr. Dain Heer, who will guide us into today's topic, which is the good, the bad, and the seemingly ugly side effects of consciousness. What would change in the world if you, me, and everyone choose to feed the wolf of possibilities instead of the one of doubt, distrust, and despair? The way I see it, our point of view creates reality, not the other way around. Somewhere deep within, I think we know that. In this podcast, I am daring you to claim this remarkable superpower. Join us and be inspired by trackers, explorers, and finders of possibilities from the multiverse of hope. Welcome to the podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities, with your host, Katarina, Wallentin.
I like it.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Dain Heer. You are the co-creator of Access Consciousness, and you've been exploring tenaciously consciousness for many years. And in that, you've also come across the possibilities that open up with the side effects of consciousness, the unexpected effects of consciousness, the surprising effects of consciousness, whatever we call them. And one of them that I've been noticing that people mention a lot lately is how their sense of joy in their lives increase a lot. And simultaneously, there's also this, what seems to be an increase of anger. What is that all about?
Well, here's the thing. One of the things we found is, would an infinite being truly ever get angry? Well, they could, but in actuality, the one time when it's appropriate to get angry is when somebody's lying to you. And then you just ask, what's the lie, spoken or unspoken? So one reason for that, a seeming increase in the prevalence of anger is we're more aware of the lies that we're functioning from, but also the lies other people are telling us, and also the lies they're telling themselves. And yet we also become less willing to take bullshit just because we're so used to taking people's bullshit. And so we're less willing to put up with our own bullshit or anybody else's because it just sort of grates on you. So that's one aspect. But I think actually the bigger thing is that most people start becoming more potent as they get more conscious. What is potency? Well, it's what the rest of the world would call power. It's the ability to create change. It's the ability to not have to eat shit from anyone for any reason, but it's got a strength to it. It's where you have a sense of having the strength of you accessible to you. And so as that starts to increase, which is what happens when you get more aware, when you start breaking down the walls of judgment that you've used to keep you in and keep your awareness in. And so what starts to happen is you start to get more potent, more powerful, but it feels like what we've been told is anger. And so a lot of people misidentify and misapply that they're getting angry, when in actuality, you want to ask, is this anger or potency? And we have something in Access called distractor implants: fear, doubt, anger, anger, rage, fury, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, fear, doubt, are some of these distractor implants. And the whole reason for bringing that up is because if you have anger, if you puck and pod the distractor implant, what happens is it morphs into a different consistency where you can actually sense the potency of it. And that's what's really occurring for most people, is they're getting more potent. They're getting more of them. They're getting more present in their lives.
And that actually leads me into another side effect that's connected to this one. So when we become more present in our lives, we also seem to become more acutely aware of everything around us and everyone around us. And with that comes these moments of total awe for the beauty that exists. And simultaneously, an amazement for the stupidity that also exists at the same time.
So when you perceive the beauty in people, you perceive the beauty that's always been there that you weren't willing to perceive and weren't willing to see as the beauty because you're getting out of judgment. And it's amazing how the less judgment you have, the more beautiful people become. And when we're talking beauty, we're obviously talking not the standards of physical beauty, although you see the physical beauty too, but it's the beauty on every level that a person is. And you get to bask in that, and it's so beautiful because also, to the extent that you're willing to perceive the beauty of your being, you can then also receive the beauty of others. You have to be something to be willing to receive it. So you start to be willing to know that you are that. You start to be able to see it in other people. And it's not an invalidation of you, it's more of an invitation for you. And you become more of an invitation for them. So then seeing the ugly is your awareness of where people have within them and as them this beauty that they refuse. And the only way that they can invalidate the beauty of that being is by twisting it into ugly points of view about themselves and others. And you would go, well, why would somebody do that? Well, look at the world we live in. You know, truly kind, beautiful, sweet people are often abused, often invalidated, often made wrong. It's like this reality has it out for the really beautiful, sweet people. And so people who used to function that way and have been abused out of it often then become the abusers of others. It's how the cycle of abuse is perpetrated. But one of the beautiful things to see in Access is so many people who have stopped the cycle of abuse. They were sweet creatures, they got abused, and they're still trying to find their way back to being a sweet creature. And they've stopped the cycle of abuse, which, if you look at that, multiply that by tens of thousands of people who have not perpetrated the abuse, like the abuse that was done to them, you realize that planet-wide, we're over time will stop this cycle of abuse. And so we'll be able to bask more in the beauty of our being without fear of repercussions for that beauty being seen. And that's a recipe for people throughout the world being able to get the gift that they are.
Well, and that's also this when you really start looking at the gift that is being created, one of the things that stop being interesting is the drama and trauma. It's like stops being interesting at the same time as I get so excited by different big ideas that go beyond. So that particular side effect of becoming near like a Teflon pan when it comes to drama and trauma, not being able to get worked up about the drama and trauma, while having the capacity to go be so enthused that you can't even stop yourself.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite ones.
Me too. It's awesome, you know, and it's interesting too, because the thing about getting stuck in the trauma and drama is, like, if you follow that over time. So let's say in this 10 seconds you choose trauma and drama and to get stuck in it, and the extent to which you make it real will determine your next few minutes or hours or days, weeks, months, or years, and what you have available. Well, when it just washes off of you like water off a duck's back, you know, like Teflon, well, now your next moment and your next day, week, month, year, or several are not hindered by that choice anymore. So the choices you're making in the moment, at the very least, are no longer hindering your future progress and your future choices. And what they also tend to do is they tend to contribute to creating the future you'd actually like to have. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that So there's another part with the choices that we make that you and I have been having a lot of conversations about lately, and it's what is actually fun. So one of the things that I find is that all the things that I thought I found fun, the things that I had decided was fun for me, I bought from someone else. I'd say at least 99%. So they seem to disappear. Suddenly, I don't really know what's fun for me anymore. And then I find that a lot of the things that I find fun may not be fun for anyone else.
Yeah, anyone else. And it's interesting to recognize, and this occurs on so many levels, what you find fun, what you find interesting, what turns you on, what turns you off, all of these elements are so much of what we bought from other people and what we learn to do and choose as a way of fitting in with other people. And when you start to have the freedom to not have to fit in the same way, as though that's the greatest contribution you can be, you start to look from a totally different place. But that's also where creating your life finally begins. I mean, it begins any moment in which you're willing to choose what's true for you. But it begins in earnest when you recognize that so much of what I've been doing and choosing it wasn't sourced from me. I was not the source of this point of view. This was a point of view somebody else had. This is a point of view I bought as mine. This is a point of view I aligned with. This is a point of view I'm resisting, whatever. And so in the ability to start to be present with what's not true for you, and then also the sense of what is, and asking the question, what's true for me that I've never acknowledged? What's possible for me that I've never considered? What do I desire? What would be fun for me? And as you start to explore that, it gives your life a different quality, because your life is no longer about the judgment of, am I being judged by others for what I choose? And, let me prove that I'm not wrong by trying to pretend that I don't like what I like that other people will judge. But it becomes, what would I like? And what if it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks?
I find that a lot of times when the side effects, or whatever we call them, start showing up. So for example, I have no idea what's fun for me. That for some people, they go to the wrongness. Like something is wrong,
Yes.
Something is off. So what is that? Like, where are we trained to go?
Well, most people are trained that they have a menu of choice, and their choices to function from some predetermined conclusion. And if they're not if they're not choosing one of those predetermined conclusions or predetermined outcomes, then they're wrong. And so the idea is there's a menu of choice, and it's like Sweden lunch. It's like a Swedish lunchtime menu. If you've ever been to Sweden at lunchtime, there are many restaurants that you have three choices. You have a white meat, you have a red meat, and you have a vegetable option. Those are your choices for lunch. What are you going to choose? And so a lot of people function from that point of view. And when one of the interesting ways that we slow ourselves down and stop ourselves is by going to the idea that we're wrong. And so when we're not choosing according to what's been predetermined as acceptable, and because what we're doing is we're trying to make our world predictable, trying to make our reality predictable. So when we choose according to the menu of choices that have already been pre-digested by our friends, our family, us interacting with them, we know how these choices are going to be received by all these other people. And make no mistake about it, it's way more about other people and not being different and not rocking their boat and being this person that you need to be for them than it is anything about you. So what happens is you start not having the same conclusion about what is the right or wrong thing to choose. And so as a way of slowing yourself down so you don't make the wrong choice, you make yourself wrong for choosing anything that could potentially turn out wrong. And by potentially turn out wrong, we mean anything that has not already been a predetermined choice that has been ratified and verified by you and your circle of friends, family, and insane cohorts in this reality.
Yeah.
And then what also occurs, the more aware you become, is that you can actually perceive your body in a different way. One of my favorite stories that you tell is in the very beginning, when you started to explore the access tools and consciousness, you ordered a salad and you had decided you liked, I think it was honey mustard dressing or not.
Yeah,
like.
no, I decided I like ranch.
Right.
I do like ranch.
And the waiter brought you
honey mustard. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? I like ranch. And but I'd been having some conversations with Gary, the founder of Access. We were talking about many things, and one of the things we were talking about is sometimes your body will bypass you and go directly to the waiter's body and make them bring you what it wants, which was clearly the case, because I was like, Gary just said, hey, try it. Maybe your body ordered it. I went, oh, you then that weird body shit. Okay, fine. And I put this honey mustard salad, piece of salad with honey mustard on it. Oh my God, it was like the best thing I'd ever tasted. It was so good. I was highly surprised because I never, ever liked honey mustard before. And it was an amazing thing to realize that my body could bypass me and go directly to the waiter's body to get what it wanted. So it put an energy there that was like, oh, bring him honey mustard. And it was like, and it was interesting though, because my body tried to tell me, like when I was looking at the menu, what do you want? It was clear, it was like honey mustard. I'm like, I'll have ranch. And you know how you go to choose something and it feels weird?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that. I went to choose it and it felt kind of weird, but I'm like, nah, I like ranch. I always like ranch. Ranch is good, And so it's like, and that's it's so funny also how often we remember the small, seemingly stupid things that occur, but they inform us of everything else. And this was an awareness of, oh, hello, body, you desire something different than I've been willing to hear, and you will actually make it happen if you can.
Yeah.
And somehow most of these side effects seems to be capacities.
Yep. Well, the side effect of consciousness is always more capacity, more awareness, more capacity, more power, more magic, more miracles, always. No matter what we think about it, which is obviously a huge part of this conversation, is where we think it's this, or where we judge, for example, the awareness of other people's trauma and drama that we're becoming more aware of. We judge that as wrong, whereas we judge the peaceful happiness as right.
Yes.
But no, they're both awareness. But one of the side effects of consciousness across the board is more capacities, more abilities.
So what would you suggest that when we go into this, oh, something must be wrong because this is not working as I'm used to, what questions can one ask when that occurs?
First is, what's right about this I'm not getting? What's right about me I'm not getting? And if this weren't wrong, what rightness would I see? And the other thing is to recognize that conditioning toward wrongness is something we've all grown up with since we were 0. And it may be that in that moment, if you go into the wrongness and then asking what's right about this I'm not getting, you may finally get the awareness to change it forever. And in a particular area, you may finally get the awareness of, oh, wow, I learned to make this wrong. This is just a program I'm running.
So even that perceived wrongness can actually be a gift, a strongness.
Yeah.
So finally, what is the most unexpected side effect of consciousness that you've come across?
That no matter what, it always gets greater. That was definitely unexpected. I sort of thought there was some like probably a lot of people, I guess I thought without realizing I was thinking it, that there's some plateau you achieve, and You have now arrived. Good job. Here's your medal. Please go have a mid-strength beer. It's like there's always more. There's always so much more than we can fathom. And, our concept in Access is, one of the questions we have is, would an infinite being truly choose this? And so if an infinite being wouldn't, why are you? But the idea of infinite, it's like we can't even fathom. Like if you were truly infinite, okay? Imagine the supernova, you would be oneness. Imagine the black holes, you would be oneness with those. Imagine the galaxy, or the billions of galaxies or trillions of galaxies in the universe. Yeah, they're all you too. Okay, your mind just cannot compute. But that, that is actually us, is one of the most bewildering, beautiful, mind-boggling, dynamic invitations to us continuing to choose more that can exist.
Yeah, and that bewilderment before the uncomputable, before the non-graspable infiniteness of us, that is daunting. And really, I'd say that the only way to embrace that is to find the allowance for you, for whatever and whoever you are at that moment.
And that truly is another one of the side effects of consciousness. Allowance for you.
I think that is my favorite side effect of consciousness.
Yep.
The allowance for me.
Yep, I think so too.
I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been fun. Congratulations on 50 episodes. Yay!
Thank you so much, Dain. And thank you for coming on so many times and helping me feed the wolf. And if you enjoyed this episode, please come on and find out what possibilities we're going to feed the wolf in the future. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities. I hope you have more space in your world now. If you would like to listen to earlier episodes, share with other people, or subscribe, please go to Spotify, iTunes, or visit KatarinaWallentin.com/wolf.